Retirement doesn't mean losing creativity. For many, retirement can expand it. On the Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities of Lincoln, we explore that notion with John Kopetsky, Executive Director at Legacy Terrace, and Kathy Blythe, dear friend of KFOR and longtime advocate for seniors, and also a spokesperson for Legacy Retirement Communities. John and Kathy, good morning.
Good morning, Dale.
Mr. Dale, good morning.
On the Aging Adventure this morning, Roy Christensen from Christensen Hearing Analytics reveals the truth behind hearing loss and how you can prevent it from happening. That's coming up after realtor Rich Rodenburg from Coldwell Banker NHS Real Estate talks about a scam that targets people wanting to flip their home.
Rich, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
You bet. So the bad guys are always out trying to make a dishonest buck, and we've seen scams over the years targeting seniors, and now we've got a new one that combines the mania with flipping houses and way to take money away from people. Let's hear about it.
Well, you probably all, if you are a homeowner, received a letter that looks like it's hand addressed, and then you open it up and it's on a piece of yellow notebook paper and it looks like it's handwritten, asking you or telling you that they will buy your house for cash, easy peasy. It is, in many cases, in those cases, it is a scam. Yes, they would love to buy your house for pennies on the dollar, but even then, it's not always a sure, safe thing. I actually went to a seminar one time. It was all over the news or the media, the radio and television, that you can make $1 million without using any of your own money. And as a realtor, I was curious about what this was all about. First of all, they wanted us to pay them a lot of money to buy the books and go to more seminars and learn how to do this more expertly. But I did get the gist of it, that you're supposed to try to buy a house for pennies on the dollar. But the whole idea then is to go out and try to resell that house before closing. And if you read the fine print, there is a clause in there that says if you can't find that person that's willing to pay $10,000, $20,000 more than you bought it for, the deal doesn't go through. Instead of buyer beware, in this case, it's seller beware. There are a lot of people out there trying to take advantage.
Rich, how are these people? I'm assuming from what you're saying and what I've heard that they're targeting older adults. Is that the main target audience here? And how are they getting that information?
You can buy mailing lists that only include people. When I turned, I think, 55, I got put on the AARP mailing list. And I just turned 70, and they are doubling down on me. You can buy lists of people, and sometimes they just blanket a whole neighborhood, and they're not targeting the older person. But my advice would be talk to someone you trust. If you are looking to sell your house, or if this looks appealing, I can get cash. I want to move to the Legacy next month. This is the easy way to do it. Talk to me. Talk to someone that you trust that can walk you through this, because you can get duped into a situation where you are getting a lot less for your house and maybe nothing at all.
You know, we hear so much. I know the housing market in Lincoln is so tight right now, and prices are, oftentimes people end up getting more than what they originally asked for the house. That just kind of plays into this seller mania, because so many seniors have a house and it's all paid for and it's in sellable condition. And in many ways, they're kind of easy targets for the bad guys.
So many times the house is possibly not in sellable condition, and there are people out there that are totally legitimate, usually almost always working through a realtor, to buy these houses at a fair price. And then they'll put new appliances, new floors, they'll fix up the house, and then they will sell it and realize usually a small profit, but a profit. And so I don't want to scare people away from someone that might be a flipper, because they have the technology, the wherewithal, and they're just putting sweat equity into a house and turning around. But please, my advice would be gain the trust of a realtor and make sure that you do it that way and not just answer that little yellow piece of paper and the phone number that's on it.
It's very tempting to want to get a fast deal and get some cash. But as you said, Rich, having all of the facts and speaking with a true professional just to make sure you know what your options are, that's always the wisest course of action. We don't want the bad guys to get anybody.
That's right. And if I am perfectly willing to answer phone calls and help you through it. Even if I don't become your realtor, I'm happy to answer questions and guide you in the right direction. So I'm out there, and I'm sure your friends at the Legacy also have seen this all and can keep you from getting scammed, not just by this one, but the myriad of other people that are out there trying to prey on our parents.
Absolutely. And we want to prevent that in every case, if at all possible. Rich, thank you so much for joining us this morning and filling us in on the latest scam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Next, the causes and symptoms of hearing loss and how to prevent them from happening to you when the aging adventure continues. We're back on the aging adventure. I'm Dale Johnston with John and Kathy. 1 in 8 people in the United States, age 12 and younger, has hearing loss in both ears. That's 30 million people, the entire population of Texas. To talk about it this morning with John and Kathy is Roy Christensen from Christensen Hearing Analytics.
Thanks for having us this morning. First, before we get going, I've got to ask you, how's life post-City Council? Are you enjoying yourself?
Life is good and a lot less stress, a lot less worries.
Sounds great. Thank you for your service on the City Council for, 2 terms?
Yep, 8 years.
8 years.
You're welcome.
We'll get down to your specialty this morning. In addition to public governance, let's talk about hearing loss. What are the different causes of hearing loss, and how do we take common sense steps that we can all take to prevent it?
Preventing hearing loss has to take place when we're younger. If you're 80 years old, you're not going to be preventing much hearing loss anymore. But the biggest things these days is exposure to loud noise, either in one's work situation or in a recreational situation. So loud concerts. We talk about AirPods. The interesting thing about AirPods, any kind of earbud, is that they're so good today, they have no harmonic distortion, meaning you can crank them way up before they start buzzing and losing fidelity. Back in the day when we had the Sony Walkmans, you couldn't turn them up very loud without getting distortion, and so people didn't. But now with AirPods and earbuds, they're turning them up too loud, and it's causing hearing problems.
Roy, having been in the radio business myself at one time, I know that it was a job hazard for a lot of folks, particularly those who played the rock and roll. They'd put the headphones on and crank it up while they were at work. And I knew some colleagues back in the day who were under 30 and had hearing aids in both ears. So it can happen very quickly and at a very young age.
It can happen very young. We see it more often in older people just because older people have had more things happen to them.
I have only been to a few concerts in recent years, but I was horrified at the deafening level of sound in the concerts, no matter who the performer is. Should we always plan to take earplugs with us if we're going to a concert?
I would say yes, I do. Get some earplugs, even if it's just the foam disposable plugs. They'll work great.
Okay, that's good to know. What are some symptoms? I know you've told me before in other conversations we've had, Roy, that usually somebody comes to see you because they've been nagged or urged to do so by their loved ones. So give us some of the signs, either in ourselves or in somebody we care about, that might indicate there's some hearing loss going on.
It's really obvious if somebody is turning the television up way louder than you would expect to be normal level. So if you go into a relative's home and they got the TV blaring, just you can say, hey, can we turn that down a little bit and turn it down to where you find it comfortable, and ask them, is that comfortable for you now? And if they say no, that's a big hint. They've got a hearing problem. Also, people that constantly ask for you to be repeating things may be a sign that they need a hearing evaluation. Other times, a phone conversation can tell you. You call your mother and say, hey, Mom, let's go out to lunch on Saturday. I'll come by, pick you up at 11:30. And Mom says, great. And you show up at 11:30 on Saturday, and she says, oh, what are you doing here? Did she forget? Or more likely, did she just not hear you the first time on the phone and played it off? So those are the most common things.
Roy, there's a certain amount of hearing loss that's inevitable as we age, isn't there?
Some people believe that's true. I believe it's true here in the United States, in the first world countries, because we're exposed to so much noise over our lifetimes that has a detrimental effect. And there are some parts of the aging process that can affect hearing absent that. But there was a study done a number of years ago on Aborigines and Pygmies in Africa, and they had the same hearing when they were 80 as they did when they were 20. They live in a whole different kind of situation and environment.
We are getting ready to talk with Roy in just a little bit about the connection between hearing loss and brain health, and we will do that when we return on The Aging Adventure, brought to you on KFOR by the Legacy Retirement Communities.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Dale Johnson, joined by John and Kathy on The Aging Adventure on KFOR. And we're talking this morning about hearing loss with Roy Christensen from Christensen Hearing Analytics.
Roy, is there a connection between hearing loss and brain health?
Absolutely, there is. For years and years, professionals in my field have known there was a connection, but it hasn't been until about the last 10 years that we had research studies that proved a strong correlation between untreated hearing loss and memory issues. Like I mentioned before, calling mom and saying, hey, let's go to lunch, and mom's not ready for lunch when you arrive. Could it be a memory problem? Absolutely. So we know that the younger a person is when they begin using hearing instruments to help stimulate the brain and in the hearing centers of the brain, the better they do in the long run, and we see less cognitive decline in those folks. So yes, there's a strong correlation. If somebody says to you, well, if you don't buy these hearing aids, you're probably just going to have dementia issues, run away from that person. That's not what the research says. But it's a good idea to keep stimulating the brain so it stays active. And there's good research that shows that can help slow any decline that's going to happen anyway.
Roy, I just want to touch on something really quickly here. We've been wearing masks, it seems like forever during the COVID outbreak. And one thing that I discovered really early on was how many folks that we interact with here at the Legacy read lips, and how difficult it is. How difficult it is for them to hear what other people are saying or to get the message.
That's right. Good research shows that almost 17% of the speech reception that somebody with hearing problems is getting comes from lip reading. Not that they're actually actively lip reading like you see in the movies, but they're just paying attention to cues on the person's face and can pick up whether someone is using an F sound or an S sound. And you do that naturally without thinking about it. But if the mask is in the way, it makes it a lot more difficult. Matter of fact, they've even developed a hearing aid algorithm that can be downloaded into some hearing aids that will compensate to a certain degree for masks, believe it or not.
Good heavens.
That's pretty remarkable. Roy, we have seen, I think probably all of us at some point in our own lives with our loved ones, and I know you see it a lot and hear about it a lot, that people have a tendency when they can't hear to withdraw from social situations.
Absolutely. And that's a big problem because that begins a downward spiraling effect that affects the person globally. They say, well, I don't want to go to church because I can't hear the pastor. And so they don't go to church. Well, they don't have that experience, but the experience is much more than just sitting in a pew listening, but it's the social interaction, it's the physical activity of getting up and going out and doing something. And there's definitive research that shows that kind of thing will have an overall negative impact on someone's health.
Roy, you mentioned earlier that the hearing aids today, you can download algorithms that can help distinguish sounds from behind a mask, which is, of course, very appropriate these days. Technology must have just made a huge impact in the last 10, 15, 20 years in hearing correction.
Absolutely makes a big difference today. The biggest things today, first of all, are rechargeable hearing aids, so you don't have to put batteries in them anymore. Just drop them in a charger every night. In the morning, they're ready for you to use. We have hearing aids now that are more than hearing aids. And we can go to whatever level somebody's comfortable with. Some people are afraid of new hearing aid technology because they are a little bit of a technophobes. They'd be afraid they can't make it work for themselves. The great news is the better the technology becomes, the more automatic we can make things work for you. So you don't have to be pushing buttons or using a phone. On the other hand, we have the ability to hook up hearing aids to phones, so you can stream from your phone to your hearing aids. So that's how you take your calls. It will go right into your hearing aids, which makes phone conversations much easier. Also, we have apps on on the phone that will help manage the hearing aids. We can do remarkable things. For example, we have ability to translate up to 37 different languages in real time. So let's say you're going to be speaking with somebody from Japan. You can go into the app on your phone and choose Japanese. And when that person speaks to you in Japanese, you will have about a 1.5 second delay, and you will hear in English what they just said. And then you can respond to them in English, and it will print in Japanese on the screen of your cell phone what you just said. And so they can read.
Nuts.
It's crazy good technology. We have technology now that measures health. For example, it will show you your physical activity during a day like a Fitbit would. It will also show you your brain activity, measuring brain waves, and it can give you a score every day so you can tell how active you've been both mentally and physically. And another great part about this technology is, let's say I've got my mom who lives in Utah, and I put some of these on her, and I can monitor with her permission, I can monitor on my phone with an app her daily activity levels. And so I can keep track of mom and make sure things are going okay. And if I know that she takes a walk every morning at 10 a.m. and there's no physical activity being shown in that time period, I can call her and say, Mom, are you okay?
That's remarkable. That's a big wow, Roy. Wish
Yep.
we didn't run out of time, but you've certainly given us a lot to think about today and to look into further. So thank you so much for being with us on The Aging Adventure.
More than welcome.
John, where can listeners go to learn more about legacy retirement communities?
Or you can call 402-436-3000 or check out our website, legacyretirement.com.
And Kathy, good having you with us this morning. Every Saturday morning, we focus on the well-being of seniors on The Aging Adventure. I'm Dale Johnson.